Hello everyone, time is 12:40 today. Basically was the New Year's, Christian New Year. We are officially right now at 2014. It will be a short video tonight. It will be the last one for the next month because I won't be around. From 2nd of January to 2nd of February, I would be outside of Canada. So I thought tonight, although it's late, to just finish this up. Last night, I talked about George Washington and completed those 4 elusive representatives of the Promised One, which according to Islam is Qa'im or Mahdi, the same individual called Jesus Christ according to Christians, and different names, different religion. But he was spoken of 4 representatives, which he would not give name to them, and that obviously cancels out those names that they were introduced 1,000 years ago to be the representative of Imam. He does not accept them, but he said there were 4. And we discovered, based on the writing and a little bit of imagination, that they are Hallaj, the greatest Sufi of all in Iran. It was Rumi, and it was Ahmed of Ahsa, Sheikh Ahmed of Ahsa, and finally the George Washington in the West. Now, in the writings of the Bab, right in the book, he says that these 4 have returned in his revelation in the form of his 18 letters of the living. We know Muhammad, Fatima, and 11th of those Imams of the Islams. That makes it all the 18 letters that he has plus these 4. So these 4 have been returned in the form of these 18 letters of the living, namely those 4 that he says they have returned, but he has not given them any names. Now, but there's one problem that I have to clarify tonight, and that problem is that of these 18 letters of the living, 3 of them were not very good. One of them, 18 years ago, I had a huge discussion with Universal Laws of Justice, and late member of the Universal Laws of Justice, Mr. Adib Taherzadeh, which on the phone told me, oh, most of these guys were no good. And I didn't know why he says that and where is his resources. He does the book, up and until now, we only know of the 18 letters of the living, one of them was seriously bad, Hadi Ghazvini, which he became a follower of Azal, but he started to trouble Baha'u'llah in such a big way that Baha'u'llah in the tablet of the Epistle to Son of the Wolf begs him to change his attitude and do not deceive innocent people. He wouldn't listen anyways. So he was excommunicated by Baha'u'llah. Abd'l-Baha in return, actually he appoints a new one way later after that. Not at the same time, long after. When Bab actually martyred, Baha'u'llah comes, and it's the time of Abd'l-Baha, where the first Baha'i temple was built in Russia. And this gentleman was Wakil-ud-Dawla, that was his name, and he was the cousin of the Bab. He lost his entire wealth, everything he had in building that, the Mashraq al-Askar, or the Baha'i temple. And Abd'l-Baha says there are 5 remaining and he's one of them. And the issue between men and Universal Laws of Justice was, okay, there were 18 in the past, and with the Bab 19, and this guy was also appointed, therefore there's 20, As a result, there's only 4 elders left to be recognized, not 5 as I say. But I told them, the problem it is that one of these letters of the living, Hadi Ghazvini, all over the right, in English and Persian, he was excommunicated, completely cast off by Baha'u'llah, was an infidel. Therefore, one went out and one came in. They didn't accept this argument up until now. They might have, I don't know. But when we look a little bit deeper, we find out 2 other of these letters of the living were not so well, so good. One of them is Mullah Hasan Bajestani. This fellow believed in God, believed in manifestation of God, which is the Bab, but he did not believe in himself. Belief has got 3 degrees. First to believe in God, then believe in manifestation of God, and finally to believe in yourself, who you are. And he didn't believe in himself. He asked in a letter to Baha'u'llah that all these things that have been said, told by Bab about the letters of the living, I can't see myself to be one of them. And Baha'u'llah in a tablet says, the divine farmer is meaning to irrigate the land, to give water so the seeds of wheat to grow. But there are weeds in the ground as well, and they get irrigated and they get water and they grow. So he alludes to him to be one of those weeds, actually, as opposed to a wheat. It's not edible. So, Zoban, that's what he says about him. And we have not known anything about him. What did he do? So far, we know that he, according to record, must have remained a Bab. He definitely was not enemy of Baha'u'llah. But he was weak. So, the next one was Roza Khan Yazdi. This guy also was, I don't know, a good guy, apparently, according to what we know in the history. But he was weak. And one of the enemies of the Bab, that Karim Khan Kermani, which is the antichrist, really, of the Bab, very fierce enemy. He actually goes to him and outwardly maybe believe in him, and he marries, I think, one of his relatives, and he becomes a part of that gang. So join the enemy. It is written anyways that if you find time and place, suitable, he would talk about his belief to others, but outwardly wasn't. This makes these 2, one is already replaced by Abd'l-Baha, we know it. And that means these 2 were not appropriate to call them an elder. So you have to understand that Bab and 18 letters of the living transfers into the Baha'i faith in the new title called elder. Well, obviously we cannot say Hadi Ghazvini was an elder. We could say he was the letter of living, but he cannot be called an elder because he was against Baha'u'llah. These 2 others also, they never became even Baha'i to even call them an elder. The minimum thing is to be a Baha'i. They were aloof and gone. So in this matter, if we look of these 3 ones, one of them Abd'l-Baha officially replaced, and he brings the builder of the Baha'i temple in Russia. The other 2, Bab eludes he is one of the elders, because in Iran, I said there were 2. What is the Sheikh Ahmed al-Ahsa, which immediately followed by Sayyid Kazim of Rasht. And he calls them Bab, which means the representative of him. So we have to say then, in a way, Sheikh Ahmad, which he was the previous representative of Bab in the revelation of Islam, in the dispensation of Islam, returned as a follower of the Bab in one of the letters of the living. No one else. Who could that be? Definitely then Sayyid Kazim is one of them. It's clear. We know one of them is replaced by Abd'l-Baha. Remain the one to replaced. And I decide that one, logically, could be nobody else but Abraham Lincoln. Because just as the Sheikh Ahmed of Asa was followed by the Sayyid Kazim of Rasht on the spiritual ground of preparation for the Bab's revelation, George Washington, His Excellency George Washington, followed by Abraham Lincoln immediately to follow the work that he could not finish. You see, the wish of George Washington was to free the blacks, the Negroes they call them at that time. They're slaves. He didn't like it. This is why practically he got rid of all of the slaves. One of the young boys at that time which helped him on the crossing the river of Delaware, his picture is in there, is James Monroe. I've been at his house. This man, which is the third president, is it? The fifth president. He, James Monroe, you can go see his house somewhere in Virginia. And he decided to free all the blacks, those who want to leave U.S. at that time. Apparently many agreed to go. And he goes to Africa and he creates a new country. After his name is called Monrovia, because James Monroe started that. And the capital is Liberia, where the liberation took place. And Abraham Lincoln was one of the people helping this out. Must have been a kid at that time, young man. So, but still this was lingering. This great new social justice, a new one in the world called, as I said, United States of America. What do we do with this lingering dirt? It was right on there. So, had to be cleansed, as President Obama says. America, his glory is irrevocably bound to his tragic past. This tragic past of the United States has to be realized fairly, in a fair manner. That, of course, all the Americans, they did not agree with slave trading. It was a bad thing that was happening everywhere in the world. Don't think Muslims didn't have slaves. They had India everywhere. So, and Arabs were the main guys. They were capturing these poor people and they selling them to British, and British people, tradespeople, slave traders, bring them in the US. Many Americans, including, I believe, I've been in Virginia, I've seen it, they don't like this. They wouldn't like this. Very few people, bad businessmen, they were doing this. It was ugly things. So we see that, talk a little bit about Abraham Lincoln. He was born actually on, written here, 1865. 1809, which means what? About 10 years after George Washington died. He was born in 1865, which makes it about 1844. Bob comes. 1850, he died just about 15 years after the martyrdom of the Bob. He was martyred as well. He was a self-educated individual because he's one of those people in the prairie. There was no education, there was no school. Had to go from one place to another place. So many people of him died. Mother died early. And so he's the return of George Washington. George Washington was 6.3 and a half. He was 6.4, half an inch taller. But by that we do not mean this is the return or reincarnation of George Washington bodily. Never. We do not believe in anything like this. Neither we believe the person of George Washington has returned to be now Abraham Lincoln. We don't believe even in that. Baha'i belief says that there is such a return, if you like to, reincarnation, of personalities. Same personality comes back. By that we do not mean personality as such as the way he talks or the way he writes or what he likes, not those things. We mean a spiritual personality, same kindness, same bravery. He was very brave. He challenged those ruffians in a battle, in a fight, you know, whatever happened to him. It was dangerous thing, but he accepted to do it. So, he was a self-educated individual. I guess he started with Bible and a few other books that he could find around, you know. And clearly, he was very openly against slavery. A politician wouldn't do that because you would not get elected at that time. But he was adamant on that, very clear. So you could not say he's your regular politician who wants to get elected. Sure he wants, but he does not want to pay the price of changing his opinion, or as he says in his quotations and writing. He didn't even like any type of war, even war with Mexico. He was fighting with that Pope. He says, no, why do we do this, you know? So there's many stories, you know, related to him. I guess he was in hunting sometimes or something, that he said he never likes even to do hunting anymore. He just doesn't want the suffering of anybody. The most miraculous things about him, that how did he pull this emancipation of the blacks under the circumstances he had? You watch the movies, you know. God must have been behind him, as he said all the time. So he gets to get elected finally to become the president. It was there's a couple of strange things about him. Now you could go and read yourself about him. You could see that he's definitely not your average human being, not an average American. I had a strange dream. He said I dream in a mirror. There are two of me. One is fate, the other one is, you know, and he's scared of that. I interpret that dream today. That means he was not aware of his second position, and he was an elder of God. This is why he was two. The one fate, he didn't know what that is. The first one he knew, but he didn't know the second one. Are there such a thing, that there are people who are doing spiritual things, or they are spiritual and they do not know it? Yes. Yes. Elders are, many of them like that. Elders are not taught to be an elder. They just know it by themselves. Self-educated individuals. If I tell you how many books I've read in the world, you wouldn't believe me. I mostly heard things from radio and TV and people. Never spent time like that. I've read all the Baha'u'llah book, yeah, Quran, Bible. I could never learn anything from anybody. If I say this, God forgive me, I have not learned one word of wisdom from anybody. I've read books only to criticize it. I mean, not criticize it. I read it and I found it that there are problems. As a kid, I liked Dostoevsky's writing, the characters he's drawing. But not curious. But even there, you know, the scene with these characters, the way they're drawn. I mean, it's reality, but nothing was anything. I have learned things from Rumi here and there, some poetry, some lines, Attar and others, but mostly from Baha'u'llah. Anyways, this was his dream. But you probably don't know that just about a week before he dies, he had another dream. He has a dream in the lower part of the White House. There's a funeral. And he goes and asks, what's happening? They tell him the president has died. Just a few weeks after he died. This man saw his death. And aware, yes, a lot of that. The full awareness of a person on his own towards the spirituality makes him prophet of God. A degree lower than that are these type of people, individuals, elders. And they will continue from being an elder or a guardian, as these fives are, into general guardians till end of the Baha'i faith. Those people get inspired by God, by the work they do, and they hand their inspiration to the universal laws of justice, and that's how universal laws of justice gets inspired, through the guardians in future, general guardians. So, come back at this. Yes, the full representative of Imam, as they were, they did return on the form of the letters of the living. 3 of them were shabby. And one of them clearly alluded by Bob as to be his representative, which is Sayyid Kazim of Rasht. Well, The Sayyid Kazim of Rasht is one of these three. Abd'l-Baha replaced one of them with the builder of National Askar of Ashgabad, two of them. The third one today I replaced, and I said that is Abraham Lincoln. Two in the West, one start, George Washington, and one finally came and got the fruit and completed the job. It was Abraham Lincoln. In Iran, these two started what we call the prelude to the Baha'i government, the social justice that was supposed to come by the promised one. It is in the tradition that he will show it to you what to do, not he's going to do it for you, because that's your responsibility as a human being, but he will bring some pattern. So two is representative. They did it on that side of the earth, what was physically necessary, literally, to create. And now you can see, in the East, the other two, they brought the spiritual basis, for the revelation of Bob prepared things for Baha'u'llah. Now, from the East, the spirit goes towards the West, where the things is, and it will land there. So matter and the spirit gets together, and we have the perfection between the West and the East. Most people don't know that. American, they don't know it. Show Effendi says they are not aware of their responsibility. Just like Jesus Christ, that was the revelation of Jesus Christ, his faith was brought up by the Romans. Baha'i faith will be raised by the North Americans. And there are many, many things that's said about that too. You can get almost a good book from the Baha'i writing as about the Americans. This topic is over. There's one point I forgot to mention previously, and that there is another illusion, in the writing of the Bab, that there is the third Imam called Imam Hussein. Now, he is returned as one of the letters of the living, okay, which is prostrating to Bab. That means inferior to the Bab. Because the dream of Joseph, which is the Bab, says that this moon and the sun and the 11 star, they were prostrating in front of me. Bab says, strangely, the sun is the daughter of the Prophet, Fatima. And the Prophet is not the sun, it's the moon. Very amazing. He puts the station of Muhammad inferior to his daughter, because sun definitely is bigger than the moon. Moon gets the light from the sun. Sun is Fatima. It is a very amazing, giving such a high rank to a woman by the Bab. Think about it. One in a spiritual source, And this Fatima is nothing but Tahira. But Fatima had two sons directly, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein was the third Imam that died in Karbala by the Muslims, in the hand of the Muslim, as a result of which all the Iranian, when they saw his martyrdom, they accept Islam. They felt they share the same destiny with him. The point of the matter is this. In Islam, the return of Imam Hussein has been, all the time, everywhere, pictured as to be the one who's coming after the Mahdi, or after the Christ. This so-called return of Christ or Imam Mahdi in Iran dies after 6-7 years. Who will do the funeral and bury him is Imam Hussein. In reality, Baha'u'llah is the one who actually did the burial of the Bab, because he took the body of the Bab from Iran all the way to Israel. So he is Hussein, and his name was Hussein too. So the question to the inquisitive mind is this. There seem to be two appearances of Imam Hussein. One as inferior to the Bab, as one of the letters of the living, and one superior to the Bab, who is Baha'u'llah. What do we do? Which one, Imam Hussein, return of which one? Is he an elder return, or is the superior to the Bab and Baha'u'llah return? The answer is this. If you again put a good, keen, inquisitive, interest eyes in this, you'll see some places Baha'u'llah returned as Imam Hussein to be one of the prophet of God. yet he was Imam. In Islam, tradition attributed to the station of the Prophet Muhammad, the same tradition is also attributed to the Imam Hussein. And that says that whoever has seen Prophet has seen God. Same thing about Imam Hussein. Whoever has seen Imam Hussein has visited God on his throne. So Imam Hussein and Muhammad, in the eye of the Muslim Imam, with this tradition ranking to be the same. Hence, the explanation for the Baha'i opinion that Imam Hussein is also a prophet. Most of the prophets that we know, all of them, most of them, they have two different stations, at least. For example, Jesus is the prophet, but he also gets baptized by who? By John the Baptist. So he's a follower of John the Baptist, but he's also a manifestation of God. Muhammad is a prophet of God, but he's writing, his own writing, not Quran, makes him an imam. He's serving two posts. Bob is the imam to Islam, but he's also a new prophet of God. And also the third one, he's the forerunner of Baha'u'llah, and he's the elder of Baha'u'llah. He actually has three offices. Now, therefore, Imam Hussein is one of them. He has two stations. One station you could refer him as Imam, which he manifested all his life right prior to his martyrdom in Karbala. There he is acting as an Imam. There he is an elder of Bab. But when the martyrdom comes, he shows some strange, immensely powerful, more powerful than anything on the planet, single-handedly. Not only he dies at the hand of the enemy, but he also prayed to God and demanded from the God to forgive the sins of these killers. They do not know, he says. Forgive them, God. That is so much similar to Jesus Christ and so much similar to Baha'u'llah. The spirit of forgiveness at the same time, so much bravery. Yes. So there it is. Imam Hussein has two return. One as an elder prior to his martyrdom, one after martyrdom. And I said to you before, if you draw a comparison between Christianity and Islam, you'll find Moses and Muhammad were similar. They didn't die. They were lawmakers. They were actual rulers. The fruit of Moses, after 1500 years, gave a fruit. That was Jesus Christ. That took the Judaism out of Judea in Rome. Everywhere, universalized it. Same thing happens in Islam. Muhammad comes. He was seen as a conqueror by Iranians. No prophet, no God. They do not accept this at anything like that. It was nothing eminent. But the fruit of Muhammad is Hussein. And he says, I am from Hussein and Hussein is from me. Me and him are the same, he says. He says that. But when Hussein died, he took Islam, which was in Arabia, and if it was in few other countries, by force of sword it was in, this time deliberately, out of free will, was accepted by the greatest empire of the time, which was bigger than Rome, biggest probably everywhere in the world. That was the Persian Empire. They freely accepted him. So much so that after 45 years, gave initiative to Iranians, through the Abu Muslim of Khorasan, he gathered all the Iranian generals, finally went there to take the revenge of what happened to Hussein, and basically uprooted these Umayyad and their transgression and trespassing on Islam. He just completely removed them, eradicated them. An Iranian. Okay, so everything is answered. Allah Akbar. See you, if I'm alive, back after February. There are things to say still. I do want to talk on that book of Mr. Nader Saidi. A lot of mistakes he's made, if I have time. And I do like to continue that Persian that I started with you on reading, and now I want to go on the grammar of it on the board and teach you. So for the future, something to be done by little me as much as I could. Okay, Allah Akbar.